hip hop.
Your WavyOcho, I'm gonna react to the rise, fall, and resurrection of Rick Ross.
Nothing is bigger than the rap star. But a gangster rapper or a drill rapper has a certain level of prestige that guys from the streets can only dream about, making the grind to the top extremely competitive. Rick Ross has been an artist whose name has been coupled with as much fame as it has been with tragedy. The quote unquote biggest boss has lived a Tony Montana dream and a life of luxury right before our eyes. But after weathering many controversies and fading out of rap's list of elite artists, it seems like the fall of Rick Ross, the biggest boss, was as fast as his rise in the game. Rick Ross was raised in Carroll City, Florida, an area that is known more recently as Miami Gardens. This is one of the roughest neighborhoods in greater Miami. Rick Ross gained attention early on the football field where he excelled as an athlete, making the all-day first team.
You know what it was is I got a scholarship to Albany State College. I was the only one to leave Miami. I went to Albany State.
It's rumored he received a scholarship to play football at an HBCU before dropping out. After dropping out of college, Rick Ross was a correctional officer.
I didn't know he played football, bro. I ain't gonna lie, but I know he was a correctional officer, bro. 50 Cent exposed him for being a correctional officer.
From sometime between 1995 until 1997. Due to the nature of rap music and the street element within the culture, this moment would prove to be one of the most controversial moments in Rick Ross's past and will eventually come back to hurt the rapper at the prime of his career. In the early 2000s, Rick Ross found success by aligning himself with two burgeoning rap labels in the South. First, Ross was signed on with Suave House Records, a label with deep roots in the Southeast and both.
But I ain't gonna lie though, Rick Ross got some fire songs. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna front and say like he don't got like like fire songs, cause the nigga do got fire songs. I ain't gonna lie.
Acts such as 8 Ball and MJG. Then Rick Ross would attach himself to Slip and Slide Records at a time when Trick Daddy and Trina and a list of other artists were making national headlines and breaking out of the South. Rick Ross would get his first major placement on Trina's album Diamond Princess on a song called Told Ya. During his early days with Slip and Slide, Rick Ross would form a friendship with a local DJ and future superstar DJ Khaled. This partnership is what would drive Rick Ross's career to the top after eventually signing his own deal with Def Jam. In 2006, Rick Ross dropped a hit single, Hustlin', that was eventually certified double platinum in the US and was the catalyst to launch Rick Ross's career. The song was featured on many high level mixtapes, and during the mixtape era, this made Rick Ross a superstar. Rick Ross's debut album, Port of Miami, exceeded Def Jam's expectations, and the way Southern rappers were now taking over the game was unavoidable. But Rick Ross entered the rap game at a later age and brought a different look and feel to rap that had been flirted with but not on this level before. That was a life of luxury and decadence that was amplified by a Miami backdrop and a gangster's theme. With the release of several mixtapes and albums receiving praise and collaborations with premier artists in hip hop, it was safe to say by 2008, Rick Ross had made it to the top. Then, in 2008, several news outlets ran a story with a photo of the rapper as a correctional officer. In rap, there's some lines that can't be crossed. Being a CO or being an officer on any level was frowned upon. But this was the first time a rapper of this high of a level was being exposed for having a job as a CO over 10 years ago. Fans didn't know how to react because at this time, Rick Ross was a solidified star. Rick Ross was eventually questioned by Big Tigger on BET's Rap City, but Rick Ross played it off as some sort of move he had to play.
Yo, if you would have got like exposed like right now, like recently, like today's time, like if you would have got exposed today's time, the niggas was not like really jacking, bro. The niggas was not jacking, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro. But he got exposed like back then, where like I don't know, social media wasn't really popping back then. I ain't gonna lie.
putting a spin on it to make it right with rap fans. Most casual rap fans brushed it off. But for those hardcore gangster rap fans, this was the first chink in his armor. Also in 2008, Rick Ross was arrested on gun and weed charges and was pressured by local authorities because of his relationship with a group called Triple C's, named after the neighborhood Rick Ross grew up in. 2008 would prove to be a wild year for Rick Ross because he was also sued by DJ Vlad for an alleged altercation that revolved around his past as a correctional officer. Then, in 2009, Rick Ross becomes a household name again with the release of his project, Deeper Than Rap. During this time, Rick Ross would spark a beef with one of the worst artists to beef with in hip-hop, and that's none other than 50 Cent. Rick Ross would subliminally diss 50 Cent on a song called Mafia Music. 50 Cent would counter that with a song called Officer Ricky, taking aim at Rick Ross' past as a correctional officer. 50 Cent then took to social media and uploaded a video telling Rick Ross he would destroy his life for fun. 50 Cent then interviewed Rick Ross's baby mama, and where she confirmed he was an officer.
Yo, like 50 Cent interviewing Rick Ross' baby moms is crazy, bro. That ass.
Before, and that his persona was fake and made up.
He was a correction officer.
So we're clear he was a correctional officer.
Yes, he was.
Things took a turn for the worse.
Damn, she even exposing the nigga, bro. She even exposing Rick Ross, Rose, bro.
When a Rick Ross affiliate, Gunplay, was rushed by G-Unit backstage at the 2012 BET Hip Hop Awards. His chain was reportedly taken, and a video surfaced of what looked like members of G-Unit pummeling the Maybach music artist. But Ross was able to win back his street audience with his 2010 release, Teflon Don, which featured some standout performances from Styles P and Gucci Mane, two artists that were nationally respected as real street dudes. Ross had found a way to avoid all the detractors and rise to the top of the rap game. But for every rise, there's a crash, and a series of events would eventually see Rick Ross's fame fade into the background. In 2010, Ross was famously sued by Freeway Rick Ross for $10 million. The lawsuit was eventually thrown out, allowing the rapper the right to keep his name based on the ruling, although the original Rick Ross contested this in the future several times. He was met with the same result. But the campaign the original Rick Ross went on to talk about the rapper Rick Ross seemed to sway the opinions of some fans who had already been hit with a plethora of funny memes and jokes about the rapper's credibility because of his battle with 50 Cent. In 2011, Rick Ross reportedly suffered from seizures, but maintained an ever-changing roster of artists as well as signing new talent like Meek Mill. Rick Ross was finding himself in legal trouble on a consistent basis from 2011 to 2017. But three situations happened during that time period that would speed up the rapper's transition out of the limelight. On January 27, 2013, Rick Ross was a target in a drive-by shooting, where Rick Ross and his girlfriend avoided being killed by veering off the road and crashing into an apartment complex. To this day, no one knows who planned the hit, but rumors have always pointed towards his enemies in the rap game. 50 Cent went to social media to say he felt the shooting was staged, which rekindled the beef for a short period of time. Also in 2013, one of the biggest controversies in the rapper's career had happened because of the lyrics to a song he was featured on by an artist, Rocco, called You Ain't Know, where the rapper's lyrics drew complaints from mainstream.
That song is fire. You ain't know it. If you haven't heard that song, go check that song out, bro. And that song is fire, bro. I don't care, bro. That song is fire, bro. Rick Ross said was crazy, but that got him cut off of deals and shit. They was not fucking with Rick Ross after what he said, bro. Look, even said Reebok dropped him over his lyrics, bro. Talk about doing stuff and shit.
Media causing the rapper to lose his deal with Reebok shoes at the time, and several shows were also canceled. Rick Ross apologized several times and said the lyrics were being misinterpreted, but the damage was already done. In 2015, Rick Ross and his bodyguard were both arrested in Georgia and accused of forcing his landscaper into one of his guest houses of his mansion. The two allegedly then began to beat the man over the head with a gun for money owed to the rapper. Ross eventually pled guilty to the charges of felony assault and was forced to pay $10,000 in a fine, but would remain free with time served for the week that he spent in jail. After 2015, the success Rick Ross had seen in the rap game had drastically diminished. Hip-hop began taking on waves of new artists and sounds that Rick Ross's style and decadence no longer matched with. But Rick Ross was already accepted as a top-tier MC. So when one of the biggest artists in the game need a feature, they always call on Ross to deliver. As far as his solo career, it's been a shadow of what it was at its heights. But Rick Ross was able to think ahead and become fully invested in a chain of franchises across the U.S. and still sells out shows and promotes his car shows and mansion on social media. So to say that Rick Ross is one of these casualties of the rap game we often see, I would be lying. But in a career filled with controversy, beef, and some amazing music, Rick Ross found a way to fade out gracefully, even though his recent attempts to drop music have fallen on deaf ears. And with all that, the biggest boss still...
Okay, that's the vid, bro. Like, what y'all think about this, bro? Like, let me know what y'all think about Rick Ross as a rapper. You know, like, what is your favorite song, like, of Rick Ross? If y'all a fan of Rick Ross, if you're not, bro, what's your thoughts on Rick Ross's whole career, bro? So yeah, bro, like, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, y'all know the vibes. WavyOcho checking out, you are.